Okay, let's dive in. You handed us a stack of material detailing a week that sounds pretty wild, like straight from a movie script, celebrity stuff, political headlines making you scratch your head, some really personal moments, and even like a weird dentist visit. Get ready for the deep dive.
Exactly. And our mission, working with everything you shared, is to sort of cut through all that noise. We're going to pull out the key nuggets, the important bits from everything you provided. It's like a shortcut to being in the know, maybe with a few surprising facts and hopefully a bit of humor.
Yeah, the material this time was basically a conversation looking back at the past week and ahead to the next one. And wow, it went all over the place. We're
Yeah.
talking tax bills, dentist drama you wouldn't believe, pop stars, Broadway, and then some really deep questions about like what actually influences us. And there was a special guest in the mix too, Brian.
It was quite the collection, yeah. So let's start at the beginning of the week, mentioned in the material. It kicked off with a song choice, Beautiful Things by Benton Boone.
Right. And there were two main reasons given for picking that song. One was tied to news, politics,
Oh.
specifically something called the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yes, the material mentioned Trump's budget bill. Its purpose, as stated, is extending those 2017 tax cuts permanently. But the reported consequences were pretty stark. Cuts to Medicaid for millions and adding, well, anywhere from $2.3 trillion to $5 trillion to the deficit over 10 years.
Wow.
We're just relaying what was in the material there, trying to present it impartially as it was framed.
Absolutely. And the other reason for the song choice was more about culture, music, this idea of big fellow music and the backlash with Benson Boone as the kind of poster child.
Yeah, he was described in pretty strong terms in the material. Someone who sucks, makes American Idol music, lots of yelling, screaming. Apparently he does a flip,
A flip, okay.
and compared to Timothy Chalamet.
Huh. And the material noted he actually quit American Idol. That sparked a whole discussion, didn't it? About how, like, maybe talent isn't the main thing for fame anymore. There was even a political comparison drawn.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder about performance versus, I don't know, authenticity today.
Right. Speaking of a packed week, you had a crazy one yourself, according to the material. You missed the show last week, something about a jamboree.
That was it. Yeah, just a quick thing. But the really big news this week centered on Molly's milestones.
Huge news. The material talked about this amazing first paid gig flying out to LA for Cash App doing a stop motion video.
Yeah, part of the Kendrick Lamar and Salsa Tour sponsorship. That sounds like a fantastic foot in the door.
It really was. And then, like, right after that, Molly finds out about getting a 10-week paid internship, major ad agency in New York City.
Wow. And the material mentioned that this is usually for college students, right? But Molly's got 3 years of experience.
Exactly. So maybe leverage that later for a full-time thing. That experience is definitely paying off.
And the living situation sounded incredible. Madison Avenue, near Central Park, Harlem East, Harlem area.
Yeah. But the material also captured that, anxiety. It's a gamble, right? Moving across the country versus the safety net back in KC. It's a big leap.
For sure, a huge life change. Exciting, but nerve-wracking, as you described it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, the material also covered your mom's 80th birthday celebration.
Oh, yeah, dinner at Eddie V's. The cost definitely got mentioned, hey, especially for someone currently between jobs. But the food was great. There's even an Eddie Vedder Van Halen joke about the name.
I saw that, and the gift sounded perfect. A cameo from Tom Bergeron.
It was Jane's idea. Mom loved him on Dancing with the Stars. It's hard finding gifts for someone who doesn't really need anything.
So that personal touch was key.
Definitely. The material also hit on some recent Casey outings.
Yeah, checked out Zoo, new place on Summit, known for handmade pasta. We got the arancini meatballs. The material even said the arancini were like being in Italy.
High praise.
Then I had the nonchetti with meat ragu. Jane had pasta with spicy vodka sauce. It was really, really good.
And then a visit to EXO. Also on Summit. Yes, the speakeasy. Cool vibe. The material mentioned the vinyl, the turntables, dark lights, jazz, very atmospheric. And yes, the bidets. Heated seats, wash-dry functions.
Uh-huh. That detail definitely stood out.
I admit I hesitated. Felt a bit, I don't know, weird.
I can imagine. Quite the experience described there.
The material also updated on my job search, waiting on a third interview, emailed the VP of HR, got a nice reply, meeting set for Monday at 3 p.m.
Okay, good. Progress.
And got an intro to an AVP at an Iowa bank, maybe some training work there. So, possibilities out there, as the material put it.
That's the key. Things are moving, even if it's a waiting game sometimes.
Definitely. Okay, another big theme, grad party season wrapping up.
Ah, yes. Described as crazy week, 2 kids graduating, expensive, stressful, Like multiple birthday parties crammed together. It sounds like everyone, you, Brian, Alaa, Boogie, were relieved it was over.
Oh, absolutely. And the material nailed that feeling adults get at those parties. Awkward, feeling judged by the kids. Emma and her spritzer giving the once-over. We've all been there.
Then you mentioned dropping Joseph off at Missouri State.
Yeah, there was crying, but the material said it was mostly the Sunday before drop-off. Got it out of the system, I guess. He's apparently starting to meet people, starting classes and workouts this week.
That's good. And Gabe's situation, starting workouts too, kind of half home, half away.
Yeah, interim period. Closer than Joseph, which is, a small comfort.
I bet. The material also included finishing The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, man. And the disappointment with the final episode.
Yes, specific points mentioned. Aunt Lydia sticking around, how that even worked. The I'm afraid line felt off, contradicting the show's whole identity theme, right?
Exactly. And characters talking about writing a book in the middle of a war zone, it just felt inconsistent, off.
The spin-off got mentioned, but yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like the finale didn't quite land, though the material did say you liked June and Luke's progression and Bradley Whitford's character.
Yeah, Commander Lawrence, he was great. So some bright spots, but overall.
Yeah. Okay, shifting perspective again. Boogie's take on the grad parties, specifically the Cupid Shuffle.
Huh. Yes, leading the crowd, apparently drunk, doing the vodka shuffle. Made it onto social media, of course.
Oh dear.
The material also mentioned this strange little white boy, Quinn, who was a cool dancer, playing games with the adults. And the father-in-law's reaction in the video amusement, disgust. Hard to tell.
Sounds about right for grad party footage. Brian's food adventures were also in the material.
Making chavapi, the Croatian sausage, ground beef, ground pork, egg whites, seasoning.
Mix it, tube it, pan fry it, holds its shape because of the egg white.
Right, no casing needed. Serve it in a pal with sauce. Sounds amazing.
And the La Tiara Tacos drama. Beloved place going out of business.
But the rumor is they might be coming back. Due to demand, KC-based, Gladstone, maybe retirement and legal stuff was the issue. Taco fans are holding their breath.
Let's hope. And related to Gladstone, the material mentioned that house explosion, 74th and Main.
Yeah, potentially gas. It sounded like it really shook people up, brought back some childhood memories mentioned in the material, too.
Understandable. The Memorial Day weekend catch-up at the Keyhole Bar with Brian and Patrick Hating.
Yes. And the material made sure to note, Patrick picked up the bill. Good man.
Always nice.
Also, the possible Jim Ketting sighting at Eddie V's, like 95% sure, but didn't say hi. And thinking about that San Diego trip with my brother, the anxiety about staying in Pat's studio apartment, sometimes planning trips is more stress than relaxation,
Totally get that. The sequence before noon play also got to mention. Megan was in it.
Yeah. 3 hours. Amateur playwriting, long songs. The material noted we initially missed seats, Megan found some, and that feeling of wanting to walk out, kind of like the dentist thing later.
That urge to just
Yeah.
escape. Okay. And finally, attending the Big Slick.
Right, the big KC charity event. Funny people raising money for Children's Mercy. Sudeikis, Heidi Gardner, Kootner, Riggle, Stone Street, Paul Rudd, all the KC folks.
The material highlighted their local connections, high schools, hometowns.
And that specific story about Pat Hating being in the minivan with Rob Riggle when Riggle got the call about the Daily Show gig.
Cool bit of history. Lots of other performers listed too.
Musical acts included Rascal Flatts doing Life is a Highway. The material noted some differing opinions on their music, though. And Kendall Marvel played Don't Tell Me How to Drink. Kind of a dark song, actually, about addiction, maybe. Mentioned an ashtray.
Interesting. And a quick Monsanto Bayer Roundup mention?
Yeah, Bayer bought Monsanto, worth less now. And a dark joke about advertising Roundup for headaches. Just some light philanthropic banter.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears now and unpack some of those real-life hurdles and behind-the-scenes issues you ran into this week.
Oh, boy. The KCTK radio tech problems. Where to start? The laptop hard drive just died.
Ouch.
Oh.
You mentioned getting a refurbished gaming one.
Yeah, which meant losing a soundboard program, had to find a new one, and for a minute the buzz was gone. I thought, okay, progress.
But then, new warning, new problems.
You got it. Buzz came back, extra monitor wouldn't work. The iPad I was using as a second monitor died. The stress level, especially with Brian coming in.
Yeah, guest stress on top of tech stress is the worst. And the coffee situation?
No almond milk. I was running late, but managed to swing by Walmart. Saved the day. Got that hero bump the material joked about.
Little victories?
Yeah.
The Facebook hacking saga also sounded like a nightmare.
Still is. KCTK radio page hacked in January. Profile page, book page, poof. Tried proving identity, no luck. Started a new page.
But then the old page just reappeared this week.
Randomly. So now there are two profiles, two KCTK radio pages. One is basically useless for the podcast feed, plus all the Windows 11 reinstall headaches after the computer died, passwords, verification codes. Ugh, it's a mess.
Sounds incredibly frustrating. Okay, moving from tech nightmares to dental frustration.
This one, yeah, it got a bit intense. Last year, they told me I needed cleanings every 4 months. It felt like a total upsell, you know, like the computer guy pushing the expensive hard drive.
All right. And you got a second opinion from a friend who's a dentist. Confirm the upsell.
Yep. But she didn't take my insurance, so I didn't switch. Fast forward to this week's cleaning. Hygienist says, need x-rays. I pushed back.
Because you just had them?
6 months ago. Not a year, which is what they'd said before. It went back and forth, and then the dentist came in with the attitude.
The material quoted that line, I don't need someone to tell me how to do my job.
That was the breaking point. Yeah. Stood up, took off the bib, walked out. And yeah, the material captured me wondering, was that the a-hole move?
Well, the material contrasted it with another speaker's experience going 3 times a year, no extra charge for x-rays each time. It just shows the inconsistency.
Exactly. It came down to trust, or lack thereof, the potential upsell plus that attitude. Just done. So yeah, switching offices, heading to Matt Whitley's, seeing an associate who takes the insurance, made a Dr. Pooh joke about the name.
And the receptionist asked if you were leaving as you walked out.
She did. Definitely a moment.
Okay, let's move into the news and culture scan from the material. Started with that news quiz segment.
Right. First question. State capital with a boil water alert.
Turned out to be Richmond, Virginia. Funny how sometimes big local news just doesn't filter through nationally, right? None of you knew it?
Nope. Next. Trump calling which federal program racist illegal?
According to the material, the Digital Equality Act, which is about internet access. The comment was reportedly on Truth Social, kind of ironic, calling internet access racist, led to a joke about whether having internet makes you racist now.
Yeah, and the longtime New York congressman who died.
Charles Rangel, 94 years old. Material correctly identified him. Noted he was the first black chairman of House Ways and Means.
King Charles III visited which Commonwealth nation?
Canada. Brian got that one right, apparently. Quick shout out to Murph and a Gladstone house in Toronto mentioned too.
Okay. And finally, RFK Jr. on which vaccine recommendation changing?
The COVID-19 vaccine. The material noted the new guidelines limited to older adults, high-risk groups. No longer recommended for healthy kids or pregnant women.
Right. And the material also included that controversial detail attributed to RFK Jr. about Jews being most immune.
Yes, and it was presented specifically to highlight the source's viewpoint on his statements and alleged racism, not as our endorsement. It also led to a brief, dark joke about natural selection related to vaccine choices.
Got it. Okay, moving to pop culture highlights. Taylor Swift getting her music back.
Yeah, the material detailed that whole process, the original sale, her re-recording the Taylor's version albums to devalue the originals, then finally buying back the masters from Shamrock Capital.
It's quite the saga. The material speculated on how much that whole fight fueled her career, kept her relevant. It really is a masterclass in artist control.
Definitely. The John Mulaney intervention story, as told in the material, was pretty intense.
Yeah, Nick Kroll organizing it, reportedly terrified Mulaney was going to die from cocaine and prescription drugs during the pandemic lockdown.
And Kroll was coordinating friends while he was in L.A. with his pregnant wife.
Wow. Mulaney's been sober since December 2020, talked about it in his special Baby J. You mentioned seeing him right after he got out, said he was hilarious. The material discussed, wanting friends like that, but also the awkwardness. Kroll apparently worried Mulaney was still mad.
Understandable. And the David Spade-Chris Farley comparison came up briefly. Sad parallel.
Very. Okay, Brad Pitt on Public Scrutiny.
Yeah, his comment about letting it get to him being a waste of time. Compared gossip to a buzzing fly, he just ignores. His divorce from Angelina Jolie was mentioned as being finalized, too. Sounds like a perspective earned the hard way.
For sure. His upcoming F1 movie got mentioned with varying levels of interest depending on superhero content. Yeah. And Nobody 2 is coming out in September, apparently.
Right. Good to know. George Clooney, going back to gray hair, was also in the material.
Right. After dyeing it dark for that Broadway role as Edward R. Murrow, the material said the dark hair actually aged him, and nobody liked it. Not him, not Amal, not the fans. Gray is better on him.
Seems like it. Other Broadway shows got a nod. Denzel in Othello, Bill Burr in Glengarry Glen Ross. And you mentioned maybe seeing in Juliet while you're in New York.
Yeah, I might try to catch that. Finally, the Justin Bieber apology to Hailey.
his public Instagram apology for telling her she'd never make the Vogue cover. He shared her recent covers with the apology, linked his comment to feeling disrespected somehow. Details weren't clear.
Right. The material then touched on general marriage stuff, divorce rumors, Haley's maybe selling her cosmetic line for $1 billion, and rumors about Justin's debt or ties to the Diddy situation. A lot swirling around them, it seems.
Sounds like it. Okay, now for maybe the most interesting part. The material had that special segment, Catching Up with Brian. Acknowledged he's busy, sometimes featuring, posed some really thoughtful questions.
Yeah, this was great. First one, a moment that changed him significantly.
Brian's answer was about a college guy, Dave, who told him she didn't need to be famous to entertain, just be a guy.
Right. And you commented that given Brian's talent, that was probably really good advice. Just be present, be authentic, powerful stuff.
Then, asked about wanting to be famous, Brian said he didn't really know why, just did. And he noted, kind of jokingly, maybe missing the boat compared to the Paul brothers on YouTube. Could have been rich doing dumb stuff if YouTube was around then.
Huh. Hindsight, right. Then, what does he want people to remember him for?
Couple of things. Maybe kicking drug addiction, which he noted humorously he wants to do but needs to start first to be able to kick it. Very honest.
Yeah.
And also having successful kids.
Yeah.
So that's probably his biggest legacy.
Yeah.
It feels very relatable for parents.
Definitely. The material followed up, when does he feel most like himself?
Brian said, in nature. And that led to comparisons. Your answer was also nature mind slows down, ego drops away. Boogie's answer was alone in his basement playing piano, noting his introversion surprises people. Interesting how different those spaces are.
Yeah. What do most people misunderstand about him? Brian mentioned his pronunciation, being misheard, and being a mind reader, according to his therapist. Skipping steps in stories, assuming people know what he means.
That's relatable. You added a point there about Brian being smart, but not showy, unlike some people. Mentioned the Dick Mueller story, be humble, let people discover things. And you shared your own funny story about pretending to play D1 basketball at Creighton.
Heh, yeah. That contrast between quiet competence and needing to broadcast it.
Finally, who influenced him most?
Brian said his wife. Their whole life journey, pushing each other. Mentioned meeting at church camp, joking they're posers now. Included that funny story about the skin doctor not getting the poser shirt. It was a really sweet reflection on their partnership.
It sounded like it. The material also broadened out to sibling influence. Boogie being raised by older siblings. You talking about your brothers and your mom's close bond with her sister, how sad her passing made your mom. Siblings really do shape us.
They really do. And for a lighter note, Brian's favorite cake.
White cake. Sometimes simple is best.
So true. Okay, so what's next? The material gave us a peek into the coming week.
Right. Your upcoming trip first.
Yep, driving to New York Thursday through Monday, moving Molly in. Material noted the travel plans, and Brian's City Court building story came up, hoping Molly isn't living near that. Hopefully the location's great.
The details on Molly's living situation sounded interesting, sublease. Roommates, the 2 cats with rubber claw tips,
Crucial detail.
and the roommate who draws portraits on her shaved head for TikTok.
Bald head draw girl. Yeah, Molly should fit right in. Brian's plans were included too.
Getting drawings back for a screened-in porch edition, getting prices. Home improvement plans, always exciting. And soccer games, Friday versus Gibraltar, Monday versus Czech Republic, both at St. John's. Sounds like a good plan.
My week listed in the material. Maybe a haircut joked about walking out again. Lunch at Dixon's Chili, Dixon's Choice. Check the shared calendar, Summer Breeze concert, Friday soccer game, and Marina Burns' 80th birthday party Saturday at Phil Lavauder's ranch. Busy social and family stuff.
And Boogie's week, as stated in the material, expecting it to be tough at work and worrying about both kids being off on their own for the first time, that's a big shift for parents.
Huge. The material even included addressing the kids directly. Make good choices. Classic parent move. Hope they're listening.
We hope so too.
Brian, thanks again for joining the conversation reflected in our material today.
Yeah, this deep dive really covered a lot, pulling from everything you provided. Politics, fame, personal stuff, tech glitches, dental woes, deep thoughts on identity and influence. Quite the mix.
It really did. Exposed us to claims about racism, identity struggles, how weird fame is, surprising stories just under the surface. It highlights that blend of, the profound and the totally mundane that makes up a week.
Which brings up a question for you, the listener. In a world that feels full of performance, conflicting info, stories sometimes stranger than fiction, how do you figure out what's true, what's genuine insight? What stood out most to you from this deep dive?
We'd love to hear what you think. Call or text us 913-735-00060. Check out the KCTK radio app, YouTube, or our Facebook pages. Yes, plural. It's a whole thing right now.
Your input really helps shape these deep dives, so please rate and review us wherever you listen.
Well, on behalf of well, both of us.
Keep talking.
And here's the song for next week mentioned in the material, Jackie Blue by Ozark Mountain Daredevils. Material noted they're from Springfield, got big in KC in the 70s, drummer was the singer, compared them to other KC bands like Rainmaker, Shooting Star.
Right, and Tech N9 writing Casey's World Cup theme song for next year also got a mention.
The material flagged the song's 70s vibe, maybe good for a yacht rock playlist.
Could be. Enjoy.